Well, there we have it. Today is Wednesday. The Federal Reserve has made their decision. Stocks have posted a plethora of earnings today. We see some massive rebounds in indexes as well. So let's just jump right into it. Today's date is July 31st, 2024. Powell discussed the importance of maintaining restrictive monetary policy to continue exerting downward pressure on inflation. He also noted the significant improvements in supply chains and labor markets. Additionally, Powell commented on the potential long-term effects of recent supply chain disruptions and the need for the Federal Reserve to adapt its policy response to these new challenges. He indicated that future progress in reducing inflation might increasingly rely on continued policy restraint, keywords there I believe, rather than further improvements in supply side conditions. Continued policy restraint. Now, just my impression of that is also a hint in itself that lower interest rates are on the horizon, not quite here yet, but they are coming. So let me continue here. Powell told reporters a September cut, quote, could be on the table. We think the time is approaching, Powell said in response to a question from Yahoo Finance, noting that the overwhelming sense from his colleagues is that the case could be made for a cut as soon as next meeting on September 17th to the 18th. Fed officials voted to keep their benchmark interest rate in a range of 5.25 to 5.5%. The decision was unanimous, which I find interesting as well. One of the hints that was dropped in the FOMC meeting today came in a slight change to a policy statement when they stated that, quote, in recent months, there has been some further progress toward the committee's 2% inflation objective, and that is terminology that has changed from modest further progress is still needed in a prior statement. I think what we're really looking forward to, though, in one of these future meetings, be it the September or the November meeting, is not just that there's been some further progress. I think we're going to be looking for a word like there has been significant progress, or there has been strong progress, or a large step, or something to indicate that there has been a hurdle that has been achieved. So let's talk about indexes today. The S&P 500 rose well over 2%. In fact, from the low of the day to the high of the day, the S&P logged 2.94% of upward change. We are now 2% shy from all-time highs again. The NASDAQ is up nearly 1,000 points from yesterday afternoon, and there was a number of other great company performances today. Since market close yesterday, Nvidia is up 21.5%. Lots of stocks reported today and are performing well after hours, additional to rising from the rally that we saw this morning. What I did find interesting is that the markets were rallying pretty strongly from the open prior to the FOMC meeting. That is not something that you see very often, especially not in the realm of north of 2%. So seeing that level of movement just made me wonder what was being taken into account here, and if the sell-off that we saw in the previous week and a half was really an authentic sell-off. And if you've watched some of my very recent prior videos, I discussed how I didn't think the fundamentals have really changed and that we might just be experiencing some profit taking, if you will, before the next move upward. And time will tell in the coming days if that is actually what is inevitably playing out here, or if we're just riding the coattails a little bit of this positive news that we got today, and then it's going to reverse in the coming days. But I think buyers are back, and I think we're on a strong up move swing back towards all-time highs. Now, I did want to talk about an individual stock that is currently standing out to me, and I'm looking to get into a position on it. It just is catching my attention in the last couple days. I currently have no position, but Carvana, ticker CVNA, seems to have solidified a position back above their 200 weekly moving average. Going to be treading lightly here, because if it does not stay above, then I will not be wanting to be in a position here, obviously. But they were already trending above it in recent days, and then when they had their earnings today, they seem to really have locked in some bullish movement going forward. Do with that information what you will. That is not explicit trading advice. That is just a upcoming trade that I am looking at in the near future here. They had just an absolute blowout earnings. They posted stellar revenue and profits way beyond expectations. They're selling more vehicles than expected, and one of their numbers really surprised me here. Their gross profit per vehicle is just a little bit over $7,000, which is just insane. And perhaps they're doing really well recently because of some of the price gouging that we're seeing with auto dealerships and refusing to take a loss on vehicles that perhaps are sitting on their lot, or wanting to just try to capitalize on what they think is still a hot buyer's market, and they're expecting people to just buy these cars, trucks, whatever $100,000 vehicles that they have on their lot within a matter of time, and it's just going to continue happening. As where Carvana has a really interesting ability in that they're not paying for all this overhead of salesmen and a lot of staff and these big empty parking lots. They've got a pretty unique structure with their car vending machine. I have not been in one. I have not tried it myself, but this is a trade that I'm going to be looking at here going forward, and I'm looking to get into it. Even though that they had a great earnings today and they're up over some 14% after hours, I'm not going to let that deter me. I'm not afraid of feeling like I'm buying in a little bit too high. They've been on a pretty good run over the last year and a half, but we will see if that run can continue into the upper 100s, lower 200s, and maybe even higher than that. So that's all I have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Please consider liking and subscribing. Your support means so much to me, and I will see you all tomorrow.